Speaking at a charity event before the election of 2008, Barack Obama made the following statement. Many of you know that I got my name Barack from my father. What you may not know is that Barack is actually Swahili for that one. And I got my middle name from somebody who obviously didn't think I'd ever run for president. In a country fearful of Islamic extremism, the name Hussein at the time could easily be seen as a handicap for a presidential candidate. It could moreover be deemed as evidence of an ideological background that would disqualify Barack Obama from presidency or even jeopardize the safety of the United States of America. Such was the power of the name Hussein, not due to its Arabic origin, but to the misrepresentation of the Islamic image. Today we ask, can such be said about the name of God? Can God's image or character be jeopardized or placed in jeopardy due to the misrepresentation of his name? Exodus chapter 20, verse 7 reads, You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. The Ten Commandments find themselves under the context of covenantal law. That is, it was the law of the covenant, the partial means that would govern the covenantal relationship between God and Israel. The verb take from the initial statement, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, has the basic meaning of carry, bear. As such, its significance parallels Exodus chapter 28, verse 12, and Exodus chapter 28, verse 29, where Aaron the high priest was to carry, bear the names of the sons of Israel. Speaking to Moses, the Lord states in Exodus chapter 28, verse 12, And you shall set the two stones on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord on his two shoulders for remembrance. In verse 29, he states, Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel in the breastpiece of judgment over his heart when he enters the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord continually. In both instances, the Hebrew verb translated bear is the same verb translated take in Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. This understanding of how the verb is used becomes highly significant when interpreting the meaning and significance of the third commandment. It is common to interpret Exodus chapter 20, verse 7 as a prohibition against either perjury and or profanity. Perjury in the sense of using God's name wrongly or falsely under oath or in a promise. Profanity in the sense of misusing the name of the Lord. But if we were to read the commandment in light of the meaning carry, bear, it would become evident that the prohibition is not limited to using the name of the Lord falsely, but more importantly conveys the idea of the Lord himself placing his name upon Israel. That is, due to their covenantal relationship, and via the covenantal law, Israel now became the image bearer of God's name. It is clear that according to 2 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 14, Israel bore God's name. It is clear that according to Leviticus chapter 19 verse 2, God's people were to reflect their God by being holy because he himself was holy. It is clear that according to Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 23, Israel profaned the name of the Lord among the nations. It is clear that according to Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 23, the God of Israel was going to restore his name, and he was going to be recognized as the Lord when his people hallowed him. Could the magnitude, therefore, of Israel profaning the name of the Lord have simply been the mere misusage of it? I don't think so. The weight and profundity of these verses testify to something greater. To profane the name of the Lord meant to misrepresent him. Israel was to be the means through which all other nations were to know God. Israel bore the name of God. Israel was to reflect the image of God. Israel was to be the representative of the Most High. Hence why the commandment reads, You shall not bear the name of the Lord your God in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless who bears his name in vain. Interestingly, the commandment itself does not define the Lord's name, but rather emphasizes the significance of it. God calls his people to reverence his name. But why? Simply put, because of what it represents, because of what it signifies. Obama's middle name, Hussein, was considered detrimental to his candidacy because of what it represented, because of what people associated it with. The name Hussein was associated with Islamic radical ideologies, with an Islamic radical religion, and with Islamic terrorism. Are these concepts defined by the name Hussein itself? No, not at all. These concepts derive from the radical individuals or groups that bear the Islamic name and by their conduct have misrepresented Islam and by extension, the Muslim community. Why then the emphasis on reverencing the Lord's name? Because it represents who he is, because it represents his character, because it represents his essence, because it penetrates to the very heart of who he is, that is, of his identity. Many Christians today speak of a world that is in need of the gospel. We speak of a world that is in need of Jesus. And yet, when we speak about him in theoretical terms. We speak about him from a historical perspective. We speak about him from a scriptural perspective. Yet seldom do we speak about him as someone whom we know personally. People today don't need to be introduced to a theoretical Jesus. People today don't need to be introduced to a historical Jesus. Apart from a biblical Jesus, people today need to be introduced to a personal Jesus, a Jesus whom you know personally, of a Jesus that walks with you, of a Jesus that talks with you along the narrow way, of a Jesus whom you can say he lives. He lives. Christ Jesus lives today. You ask me how I know he lives? He lives within my heart. How does your lifestyle represent Jesus? How do your words and conduct reverence his name? Beloved, know and understand that you are Christ's witness. Know and understand that by calling yourself a Christian, you are bearing his name. Therefore, reverence his name with your thoughts. Reverence his name with your speech. Reverence his name with your demeanor. Reverence his name with your conduct. For you shall not bear the name of the Lord your God in vain. As we know, Barack Hussein Obama won the presidency. The misrepresentation of the Islamic image and Muslim community did not prevent him from becoming president of the United States. It only functioned as a stumbling block for his campaign. As it is written, God will honor his name. The misrepresentation of the Lord's image and Christian community, by extension, will not prevent him from glorifying his name. It only functions as a stumbling block for his gospel. You are God's name bearer. You are God's representative. His image is in your hands. Therefore, do not bear the Lord's name in vain, but rather bear it with dignity and honor and glorify. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. I pray and hope that this homily, this sermonette, was of a blessing to you. I know that it has been for me, because before I can present this to anyone, before I could even stand behind a pulpit and preach, I'm the one who has to apply the message, because first and foremost, the message is from me. God reveals it to me because I am the one that's in need of it, and I am just sharing it with you, knowing that I possibly am not the only one, and we truly need within our Christian community an understanding of what it means to be a Christian and what it means to actually bear God's name. So again, thank you for your time. I pray and hope that this has been a blessing for you. I hope that it helps you understand things a little bit better. I hope that it sparks some type of curiosity and that you study this topic even further, and that the Lord may be glorified for his honor and glory and for our edification. So thank you, and until the next time, bye.